Today, 10 years after the war, we observe in Khmer the same optimism, the same organizations, the same political aspirations, the same phrases and catchwords at work. How can we but fear that they will inevitably lead to further catastrophes? Agreements to outlaw war leave us skeptical, even while we wish them every possible success. At bottom, behind every such palliative measure there is a gnawing doubt. I believe I am not exaggerating when I say that modern man has suffered an almost fatal shock, psychologically speaking, and as a result has fallen into profound uncertainty. These statements make it clear enough that my views are colored by a professional bias. A doctor always spies out diseases, and I cannot cease to be a doctor. But it is essential to the physician's art that he should not discover diseases where none exists. I will therefore not make the assertion that Western man, and the white man in particular, is sick, or that the Western world is on the verge of collapse. I am in no way competent to pass such a judgment. Whenever you hear anyone talking about a cultural or even about a human problem, you should never forget to inquire who the speaker really is. The more general the problem, the more he will smuggle his own, most personal psychology into the account he gives him of it. This can, without a doubt, lead to intolerable distortions and false conclusions which may have very serious consequences. On the other hand, the very fact that a general problem has gripped and assimilated the whole of the person is a guarantee that the speaker has really experienced it and perhaps gained something from his sufferings. He will then reflect the problem for us in his personal life and thereby show us a truth. But if he projects his own psychology into the problem, he falsifies it by his personal bias and on the pretense of presenting it objectively so distorts it that no truth emerges but merely a deceptive fiction. It is of course only from my own experience with other persons and with myself that I draw my knowledge of the spiritual problem of modern man. I know something of the intimate psychic life of many hundreds of educated persons, both sick and healthy, coming from every quarter of the civilized white world. And upon this experience I base my statements. No doubt I can draw only an outside picture, for everything I have observed lies in the psyche, it is all inside. I must add that this is a remarkable fact in itself, for the psyche is not always and everywhere to be found in the inside. There are peoples and epochs where it is found outside, because they were wholly and psychological. As examples, we may choose any of the ancient civilizations, but especially that of Egypt with its monumental objectivity and its naive confession of sins that have not been committed. We can no more feel psychic problems lurking behind the Apis tombs of Saqqara and the pyramids than we can behind the music of Bach. Whenever there exists an external form, be it an ideal or a ritual, by which all the yearnings and hopes of the soul are adequately expressed, as for instance in living religion, then we may say that the psyche is outside and that there is no psychic problem, just as there is then no unconscious in our sense of the word. In consonance with this truth, the discovery of psychology falls entirely within the last decades, although long before that man was introspective and intelligent and knew to recognize the facts that are the subject matter of psychology. It was the same with technical knowledge. The Romans were familiar with all the mechanical principles and physical facts which would have enabled them to construct a steam engine. But all that came of it was the toy made by Hero of Alexandria. The reason for this is that there was no compelling necessity to go further. This need arose only with the enormous division of labor and the growth of specialization in the 19th century. So also a spiritual need has produced in our time the discovery of psychology. The psychic facts still existed earlier, of course, but they did not attract attention, no one noticed them. People got along without them. But today we can no longer get along unless we pay attention to the psyche. It was men of the medical profession who were the first to learn this truth. For the priest, the psyche can only be something that needs fitting into a recognized form or system of belief in order to ensure its undisturbed functioning. So long as this system gives true expression to life, psychology can bear nothing but a technical adjuvant to healthy living, and the psyche cannot be regarded as a factor sui generis. While man still lives as a herd animal, he has no psyche of his own, nor does he need any except the usual belief in the immortality of the soul. But as soon as he has outgrown whatever local form of religion he was born to, as soon as this religion can no longer embrace his life in all its fullness, then the psyche becomes a factor in its own right which cannot be dealt with by the customary measures. It is for this reason that we today have a psychology founded on experience, and no upon articles of faith or the postulates of any philosophical system. The very fact that we have a suture psychology is to me symptomatic of a profound convulsion of the collective psyche.